setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Mike Lodge. I don't know if you've been having the same problem as me, but every single morning I'm waking up at 3 a.m. Can't go back to sleep, and I think it's because of the time change. It has really thrown me off this time. I don't know if it's because of old age or whatever it is, my time clock is off. So it's now 3:48 in the morning and I'm doing a podcast. And I have to be to work at 9 a.m. But that's okay. That's life. So, this time change, why don't we petition our government? Come on. Let's just have one time all year long and we're not going to change it. Let's just do it. So that we don't have to go through this 1 hour change that sets off the clocks of our bodies so that I'm up at 3 a.m. doing the podcast. That's stupid. That's what I'm blaming the waking up so early about. It's the time change, daylight savings time. Falling forward, it's spring forward, fall back. Let's do away with that phrase because I'm tired of springing forward. I just don't have the energy to spring forward anymore and wake up at 3 o'clock and do a podcast. Yesterday I talked to you about those of you who are trying to do your own tax returns. Now, a lot of you for 2018 taxes will probably be doing your own tax returns because you probably will fall into the standard deduction slot. And that slot is really quite an easy one to prepare because you're just putting your name, your W-2s, and that's pretty much it. But those of you who still have your homes and still have certain deductions that you need to take, you'll have to do itemized deductions. But those of you who will be preparing your own tax returns, in 2018, do it correctly, okay? You have until December to study up on the new tax rules, and there is a whole slew of them out there. Study them, and also don't just think that it's all about the federal, but it's also about the state, because the state has wherever you are listening to this, your state has a special tax rules also. Not all follow the federal government. Some have their own rules. Look at California. We have so many different things that we have to look at aside from the federal tax issues. So you need to do two things. One, if you can, and at some part of this year, sit down or go to a seminar and go over what the new tax rules are and how they will affect you. If you plan on preparing your own tax return. But also do it if you're not. Don't just rely on other people all the time to give you advice. Make sure that you're studying this stuff. If you're going to have the guts to sit down with a tax program, online or offline, and prepare your own tax return, you've got to know the rule. Did I just say you got to know? I think I just did. You have to know the rules. And you also have to know how to be able to go line by line, starting with line 1 and ending with the very last line that when you sign under penalty and perjury, that you're doing things correctly. I tell you, when you sign on that bottom line, that says, I have prepared this tax return, or I am submitting this tax return, I am signing on this tax return under penalty and perjury. That means you're taking responsibility for what you're reporting to the federal government and to the state in which you live. That penalty and perjury can get you. So make sure that you know the tax rules that are going to affect you on that tax line. If you have a question on any of those lines, there is sources online that you can look up that line and it will explain it to you. EIC, child credits, businesses, rental property, whatever you have, there's ways to look up that information. And the IRS has sources for that too. But you need to, what I've told you yesterday, you need to scrub those numbers very, very well. Just use the word scrub in your vocabulary every time that you are ready to finalize your tax return. And if you've prepared it, scrub it. That's the final word on that. Now, those of you in California, you have to pay attention to what's going on repealing the gas tax. If you want to get involved in it, you can go to my website at www.wbtpod.com and click on the box that says Get Involved. And you can read what the gas tax repeal is all about. You can sign the petition. Please, sign the petition if you haven't. Sign that petition because we need as many signatures as we want. And the reason why. Here's the reason why. Because we've got a corrupt politician named Jerry Brown who is demanding a recount of all the signatures. So that's the dirty politics he is going to play. Recount the signatures. So we're trying to get an abundance of signatures so that we can show the government and we can show the courts and we can show the states and the Secretary of State that, listen, we have an abundance of signatures. Even if you recount, we've got more. We've got more and more signatures. But we need to repeal this gas tax because it's an unneeded tax. Governor Brown told you a lie. And that lie is that he needed more taxes. In actuality, he does not need any more taxes. He needs to cut his spending is what he needs to do. And when we take in gas tax right now, we're taking in enough to do all the repairs and infrastructure stuff that we need to do. But instead what happens is that in the state legislature, they steal from that fund. The gas tax fund, they steal from it. And that's not what we put that when we put gas in our car and we pay that tax, we expect some road work to be done. So the governor lied to you, and he lied big time. So you need to get involved, please. That's the key word here, and I've said it before in other podcasts, to get involved in repealing this gas tax. We all have a responsibility as citizens of the state of California, and that is to fight back. Fight back on higher taxes. Fight back on waste. Fight back on stupid, corrupt, liberal politicians who are taking this state and literally driving it into the ground. They're pounding it hard. So we need to stand up and we need to fight. That's the most important thing of being a citizen of a state or a community, is that you have to get involved. So get involved. Go to www.wbtpod.com. Click on Get Involved and get involved. I also wanted to talk just a little bit about this omnibus bill of spending. It used to be, and I think it was the best way to do it, that the spending bills was department by department. So the Defense Department would get their spending bill, all the other departments, Secretary of State, the Department of State, the military, the education, they all had spending bills. And so that Congress was able to look at each department on a one-on-one basis. But now what they do is they combine everything together and no one knows what they're looking at. And so you have members of Congress who have probably no idea of looking at budgets in their lifetime, who have been politicians for the majority of their life, but they really do not know the financial structure of this nation. So when you have an omnibus bill that has everything in it, it gives no time for every member of Congress and their staff to go through thousands and thousands of pages of budgetary issues and spending issues of various departments at one time. It'd be much easier to look at each department one at a time until it's all done. That way you can go in, you can ask questions, you can do whatever you need, but when it's one huge bill that no one knows what they're reading, we have a problem. We're always so geared up on spending, but we never focus on the cost cuts that can be done in our government. Just because you're working for the government does not mean that you have to spend it all and that you need more money. So I would encourage Congress, go back to looking at these spending issues department by department. Not as a huge bunch of pages that no one's going to read through. Like Nancy Pelosi said, well, we'll have to vote for it to know what's inside it. Well, we voted for that healthcare bill of hers, and it became a disaster. So I encourage Congress, go back to spending bills that address each department of the nation at a time. Congress has got to be able to know what they're voting on. Americans have got to know what their congressional people and senators are voting on. If we can't understand it, do not expect Congress to understand it. Now, they'll get up and they'll make really great speeches, but the speeches are bogus and they mean nothing because they haven't read what they're talking about. You know, I don't know if you've noticed this, but politics is really dirty. And it's become more and more dirty, where everybody's trying to get some kind of dirt on everybody else. They're trying to get their media spots open to them every single day. That's all they live for, is being on that media. Look at Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff spends more time trying to be on TV than I think he does at his job as a member of Congress. We have a problem, and that is the priorities are wrong. People who are representing us in Congress, the priority is wrong because they're so involved in the politics, but they forgot about what the people's needs are. And they forget to listen to what people are telling them. Adam Schiff is probably one of the worst. He represents me in California. My office is in California, the Los Angeles area, he represents me. And every time that I've tried to approach him, I get the same form letter back every single time. because he plays politics. And that's all he does. He does not listen. He will only listen to you if you agree with him. So we need better politicians. We need people who are going to be in Congress, who are going to stand up for you and me instead of for their party. Because the party does not represent you and me. Does not represent our needs in our districts, in our communities. It just doesn't. So we have a problem. And we need better people in office. We've got to stop looking at this on a party line. I became independent many years ago. After being a Republican, I just felt that I needed to have my own voice. And I needed to make my own decisions. So I went independent. Now, I'm a common sense conservative. If you know what a common sense conservative is, it's one who looks at things with common sense. Not through a political eyes, but looking at the issues of my community where I live and the needs that I see our community needs and what the nation needs at the same time. Through common sense eyes. Not political eyes, but common sense. What makes common sense for you and me? So we have these politicians that are so far left or so far right, but we have really no middle of the road people who can work things through and bring people together. Partisanship is at a high time high. I mean, it's worthless because nothing gets done. Take DACA, okay? The Democrats have been for years hyping this subject up, demanding it, going to marches, participating in marches. But then when it comes time, when the president puts the offer on the table, come up with a good DACA plan, they do nothing. They remain silent. They don't work with anybody. I've said this so many times, DACA is failing because the people who yelled the loudest about it are doing nothing about it. So if you think that Democrats are for you people in DACA, change your mind because they're not there for you. And they never will be for you because you are part of the political agenda. You are part of the political agenda where they come out and they go for the downtrodden people, the people who are having problems, but yet they do nothing for them. That is worthless politicians who follow a political agenda but do nothing to help the people of the United States or people who are trying to get here to live in this nation of ours. So if you're going to blame anybody on DACA, go to the Democratic side of the House and the Senate and you see that they're not doing one damn thing for you. So that's it for today because I'm losing my voice at 3 o'clock in the morning. Get out there and get involved. That's all I ask, is get out there and become involved. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
World of Business and taxes on WBT.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.